Hi, my name is Anthony Roach, and I'm going to be talking to you today about LifeOmic's partnership with Sumo Logic and how we benefit from this partnership. So my primary job at LifeOmic is architecture and implementation on our Precision Health Cloud product. And we are a true DevOps organization, so all of development is responsible for operations, and that includes myself. I've always been passionate about logging and troubleshooting and have been a longtime Sumo Logic user. So shortly after starting at LifeOmic, I brought Sumo Logic in and implemented them as our logging aggregation system. And at LifeOmic, we try to do more with less people. So we really needed a tool that was easy to use, quick to set up, and didn't take us a lot of time so that we could focus on product development. So just to kind of go over the agenda today to kind of let you know what to expect, I'm going to start with a brief introduction to LifeOmic just to provide some background information, and then a technical overview of LifeOmic and our products, just to kind of see why logging is important to us, and then go into some details about how we leverage Sumo Logic based on the above information, and then talk about the process of quantifying how Sumo Logic impacts our business and the value we get out of it. And then finally, future expansion and next steps. So first off, the introduction to LifeOmic, just to kind of give some background information. So put simply, LifeOmic provides a toolbox platform for health data and analytics, and a set of applications built on top of that platform that use those tools to help people improve the health of others and themselves. The applications are optimized and focused on particular roles, including researchers, clinicians, employers, health coaches, and private individuals looking to improve their health. So these are just going to go over some of the products that we have, just to kind of solidify some of that information. So the PHC, the Precision Health Cloud, is our backend for all the other apps, and as well as a set of applications that are used by researchers, clinicians, and health coaches. Researchers use the Precision Health Cloud to collect and analyze data from the research subjects via wearables, surveys, and informed consent, and also genomics. Clinicians use it for clinical decision support by augmenting traditional electronic health records with genomics, wearables, and surveys. Health coaches use the PHC similarly to clinicians, but with more of a focus on wearable data and self-reported information via our mobile apps. Also, the PHC is HIPAA compliant, HITRUST certified, GDPR compliant, SOC 2 certified, and FDA Part 11 certified for informed consent. So we have a lot of requirements around auditing and proving to various organizations that we're doing the right things. Then we have our mobile apps that are, we call them the Life mobile app suite. It runs on both iOS and Android. Life is a fasting tracker application with strong social features. Life Extend then extends the Life application and gives more health and wellness features, as well as providing a platform for researchers to collect data from their subjects and clinicians to engage and monitor their patients, and corporate wellness programs to engage and monitor their employees. The Life mobile apps are also augmented with the Life website, which provides blog posts and science articles that describe health benefits and ways to improve people's health. And finally, the Life mobile apps also integrate with various wearables like fitness trackers and other ketone monitors and things like that to automatically acquire data for patients. Then we have our Precision Wellness product, which combines the PHC and Life Extend and adds tools for running wellness programs for employers and organizations. And we also have as part of this product, reward payouts, automated reward payouts, as well as lab integrations for doing like yearly lab tests for employees. And the important thing of the Precision Wellness product is it it does a lot of the things automated and without direct intervention from the employers, because we want to keep the privacy of the employees intact, so that the employers don't know individual health outcomes, but the employers can then see aggregates and make sure that the wellness program is actually working for their employees. And then we have LifeOmic, which is the health education and literacy platform that basically delivers science and health content to consumers. And that also includes a network of writers and artists that can help people who want to provide content, either employers or organizations that need to deliver or just want to provide it for the public good. So the product encompasses both the authoring of that content, as well as the delivery and upkeep of the content. And it's sort of presented as an easy to understand, simple, non-scary thing, and for both appropriate for children as well as just lay people, if you will. And then there's SkillSpring, which is sort of like Uber for coaching. It provides payments, scheduling, and communication for subject matter experts to engage with consumers. And we use that for a number of the features in the LifeOmic products for the two-sided communication we do between like coaches and doctors and their patients and subjects, as well as a standalone tool for use in other markets that aren't related to health. All right, so now just a brief technical overview to kind of bring it around to logging and analytics. So as you can see, we've got a bit of a complex system here at LifeOmic, but I'm just going to go over it briefly and describe some of the important aspects of it. So at base, the PHC is a combination of microservice-based serverless backend running on AWS. So everything inside the box is AWS, and then various apps and static content that for web app and mobile apps that are delivered via CloudFront. So we did an API first implementation here at LifeOmic. So that allowed us to use the same APIs for all of our clients, all our various clients, as well as allowing customers to write their own clients, to integrate with our platform or provide extra visualizations or what have you. On top of the PHC at the top, you'll see various applications, some of the ones I talked about previously. We have our PHC web app. We've got our Life mobile apps. We've actually got a CLI, command line interface application, similar to the AWS CLI that you can interact with the platform through. And all of those clients use the same set of APIs. And then also we have custom apps written by third parties, customers, partners, what have you. We also integrate with various external systems on the top right here, including EHRs, which are the electronic health record systems used at health institutions, and things like Fitbit and Garmin integrations are also handled in a very similar way. And those are via either standard interfaces like HL7 or Fire, or proprietary interfaces for things like Fitbit that have done their own APIs. And then, so to go through the kind of the back-end stack, which is the thing on the lower 4/5 of the diagram. So we have our API at the top that's standardized and documented, and that goes through a web application firewall that provides static rules for securing our platform from base intruders and SQL injection and that kind of thing. And again, this is all these things on the bottom are running on AWS and using AWS services. So under the web application firewall, we've got CloudFront, which functions as both a reverse proxy for our APIs, as well as a front end for our CDN, which ultimately is storing static web content, images, HTML, whatnot, in S3. So CloudFront kind of provides a nice uniform, essentially a host name that all that stuff sits behind. And then behind CloudFront, we have our API gateway, which is AWS API Gateway, provides the HTTP layer for our microservices, also does authorization via a Lambda authorizer that we've implemented. And then plugged into the API Gateway are our microservice Lambdas. And these are really where most of our work goes into. This is where application logic lives, the business logic, various rules, and just everything really. And the PHC is in these microservices. And we did take a microservice architecture, so things are compartmentalized in small units, and we use APIs to communicate across the system between microservices, as well as exposing many of those APIs up publicly through the API gateway. And then behind the Lambdas, we have our various databases that are, again, compartmentalized in these microservices. And we use everything from Amazon S3 to DynamoDB to relational databases like Postgres and MySQL via Amazon Aurora. And then finally, at the bottom, we have various background jobs that run. These are things ranging from customer implemented tasks and workflows that run on batch, and our own back-end computation analytics jobs using Spark and other tooling. Also, just worth mentioning is we have a file storage backend that stores things like whole genome sequences, which can be hundreds of gigabytes, as well as small PDFs. And we have a custom API for that, but we also provide an SFTP interface for like labs that want to push files into our platform, or HL7 EHRs that need to use SFTP. So that's just a separate interface on top of the same microservice backend. So now on to how LifeOmic leverages Sumo Logic and what kind of, why do we need it? What do we use it for? So as you can see from the previous slide, we have a very complex system with lots of moving parts, and we need some way to see under the hood of what's going on, both at the small scale, so individual transactions, as well as large scale system level view over days and weeks. And these troubleshooting and monitoring tasks are usually done by an operations staff or a support staff, but we don't have that here at LifeOmic, right? We just have our development staff. So we need to be able to carry out these things quickly and easily, and not with a lot of hassle and a lot of time invested in doing troubleshooting and monitoring of production. We also don't have a dedicated support staff. So developers are tasked with supporting our product and responding to customer issues or whole system level issues if things go horribly wrong. And again, we need this to be something that's easy and quick to do for our development staff, so we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. We also don't have a dedicated QA staff, so we don't have dedicated people that can evaluate our product for quality and make sure that the proper testing is done. So that falls on our development staff as well. And we do small scale unit testing at the microservice level, and that can be done on developer workstations like you'd expect. But obviously there's a need to test the whole system at a system level. And so we really need like a debugger at the system level in development that we can use on the whole to see what's going on, and if there's something wrong or things aren't working as expected, we can figure out what that is. And we also do continuous integration and continuous delivery, which means we're constantly changing the system both in development and production, and we need to make sure that that's working properly and doing what we expect. And a lot of those tasks in development are similar to the tasks that we would perform in production, right? Determining whether things are working right, whether the whole system is functioning properly. So using a similar system to production and development is advantageous. Also, we can't pause the world to debug the whole system or run it outside the cloud. So we really need to do it like in situ, right? We also we do have a dedicated security staff that needs to perform similar tasks to investigate security breaches or to look for changes in the system that might indicate that some attacker is attacking the system, large egress data, or changing request rates or from different parts of the world. And finally, We also have, like I mentioned, all of our compliance efforts, which means we have to respond to auditors' requests to prove things we say about the system, that they're actually working the way they say, and that we have the insight and the auditing that they expect. So that's something else we use Sumo for. And finally, we get asked questions from the business like, how many users do we have each day? And what's the most popular feature? And these are the sort of questions we can answer with Sumo by just looking at application logs and seeing how people are using the system. Okay, so why Sumo Logic versus some other tools? So obviously, there's other things we could use for logging and looking at the system and debugging and things like that. But as you can see from our microservice architecture and the fact that we don't have servers and that we have lots of different databases and various different pieces, that we can't just SSH into a server and look at the logs on the server. In most cases, we don't have a server to even SSH into. And we also wouldn't know which server to pick if we did. Multiple servers will be responsible for different pieces of a request due to our microservice architecture. And we're also multi-tenant. So each tenant is spread over the whole system. So there's no real way to know where the logs would be. So we really need log aggregation, right? We need something that pulls the logs in from the entire system and gives us a single view of those logs. And that's primarily what Sumo Logic is, right? It's a log aggregation and visualization tool. We also need real-time intelligence. And this is important for things like getting alerted when the system is not behaving as expected or when it's drifting into failure. So we use Sumo Logic dashboards and scheduled searches and real-time alerting to help us with that. Also, we could use separate tools for all this. We could use something different for log analytics. We could use something different for alerting and monitoring and security. But having a single tool that does all the tasks we need makes it so that we don't have to cross-train developers on different tools. You know, the security team and the development team can use the same set of tools, so we can share expertise and not have to, you know, switch contexts when we want to go from security to development. So having a single unified platform is very important for us, and Sumo Logic satisfies all the requirements we have and more. Full disclosure, though, we do have a couple tools we use client-side that are not Sumo Logic due to just the limited resources and the constraints on the client for things like, you know, troubleshooting mobile app issues, for example. Also, we need a system that can scale faster than we do. Our user base is increasing rapidly, and the amount of data we store and the amount of logs we generate is increasing all the time. And we don't want to spend developer time, you know, scaling up our logging platform. We want someone else to take care of that burden for us, so we don't have to maintain dedicated infrastructure. And finally, we don't mind throwing money at problems when we have to, but we don't, rather than people, but we also don't want to waste money and spend more than we are getting out of a product. So as you'll see in the next few slides, Sumo Logic is very cost effective compared to other options, particularly when factoring in human costs. So the amount of time that the humans spend performing those troubleshooting and monitoring tasks is where the real benefit comes in. Okay, so now on to quantifying the business value and proving that Sumo Logic is worth it for us and why we did that. So initially, when we started using Sumo Logic, our usage was small enough that we didn't need to justify the cost. The cost was minor to us. But as our customer base and user base grew, we got increased usage of the platform and the products, which obviously created more logs and increased our Sumo Logic bill. Finally, our cost level got to the point where I needed to justify the increased spend was worth it to us, and that we were getting enough benefit to justify the cost. Ideally, we'd like the benefit from using any of our vendors, including Sumo Logic, the benefit to increase faster than, or the benefit to increase lower than our usage, so that basically Sumo Logic gets cheaper as our scale increases and our revenue increases. As you can probably tell from the previous slides, I was already a fan of Sumo Logic and I was pretty convinced it was the right choice, but I needed to justify the increased cost to the business folks. I mentioned this to our account rep in a call we were having, and he suggested that I get engaged with the Sumo Logic Value Office, who could be value consultants and basically help me figure out and prove to our executives that Sumo Logic was worth it, that our bill was in line with what we expected, right? I agreed to this on the condition that it didn't take up too much of my time because I'm busy. And so over the course of a few discussions with Sumo Logic, we focused on basically looking at how we used Sumo Logic for operational intelligence and security, and focused on kind of these 7 value categories, which helped us uncover hidden costs and make sure that we were covering everything and didn't leave anything out. The kind of questions that they asked me were things like, how much time, how many support cases do we have? How much time do people spend on doing support or troubleshooting or analysis? And there was, of course, some estimation, but we tried to keep things reasonable and conservative so we didn't stack the deck in Sumo's favor. And the output of the exercise was a high-level executive summary, which you see here, that I could show to the executives and prove out that it was worth it, as well as a bunch of other detailed reports and things that I could give and talk about if need be. The benefit estimate was primarily derived from human costs of basically using Sumo versus not using Sumo. How much time did we spend doing troubleshooting if we didn't have something like Sumo, and doing the difference of those two things. And the cost was, of course, how much we spend on Sumo. And as you can see in the chart on the bottom left, the benefit highly outweighs the cost, especially in year 1. The year 2 is a little bit fuzzy. We didn't really do much projecting or looking at scalability or how much our usage would improve over time. So I'm not going to go through all this, but this is just a taste of sort of the level of detail that we were provided by the BVA. Okay, so just to summarize, during this process, the Sumo Logic value consultant did most of the work. I only had to spend a couple hours over a few calls, over a few weeks' time. So it was really very minimal time on my part. And I then presented the outputs to our COO and other executives to prove that we were getting the value that we thought we were and more. And overall, I would say the value assessment was definitely worth the time spent for me. All right, and so finally, just a little bit about our future expansion with Sumo Logic and what we plan to do in the future. So we've recently switched to the credit model, which is a more flexible billing model based on just credits that can be used for any cost that you have. So that gives great flexibility for both over time as usage changes. Credits are good for the whole year, and they're also applicable to different storage types. So as our needs change, those credits just get allocated automatically, which is nice. Historically, we used a bunch of different security tools, and now we've decided to standardize on Sumo Logic for our security needs so that we don't have to train on separate tools. We've also gone into FedRAMP certification, so we have a Fed instance of Sumo, which has been very easy to set up. And probably the next year or so, we'll engage the business value office again, just to check up and see, how's the value look? Are we getting the benefits as our usage changes and our business changes? Are we still getting the value we expect? Thank you for your time.